Hi, good afternoon. It's Jim from the mavestar Observatory. Welcome to poleshift news. Before we get into this, guys, and we have got something really interesting to show you with our jet streams, and which is a direct response really to more cosmic radiation. But before we get into that, I just want to say a big thanks to all our patrons for supporting us for the time that you have, and all of those guys out there, you know who you are, that support us on PayPal. A special thanks to Alex over the weekend, who made a nice contribution towards the observatory. And you know, it is really just sometimes a few guys like yourselves that really do help push the cart here at the mavestar Observatory. So I just want to say thank you, and make sure you guys know that I am very grateful for your help that you would provide. So you know, we've got some great people, and we also have some recently unfortunately nasty people, and you also know who you are, and you know what you're doing. You know, the video's not even on for more than 5 seconds and you've thumbed it down for whatever reason. And you know, they're obviously just haters. They're not there to, you know, do anything else other than cause trouble. I've noticed in the comments section, you know, some of the things that have been put there, but I've not said anything about it. I've just, you know, removed that person from making any further comments. But you know, it really isn't important what t-shirt I'm wearing or what, you know, my home looks like when you see me on videos. And certainly I don't think it's fair that you make comments against people that I actually love, you know. But what you're doing is obviously targeted and purposely done, and there's no need for it. You're very bitter people, and you really should just move on. You know, what we're trying to do here is give people a little bit of advice on the times that they're in and what to expect, you know. And a lot of work goes into this observatory. You know, I do sometimes say we here at mavestar Observatory, but mainly it's me, you know, and I'm the only person here that is putting in all that work and time building the equipment so that we can answer them questions that we've asked. But anyhow, guys, let's move on. Anyhow, you know, that we do have these people, unfortunately. Some of them do come from corporate entities, disguised as your average, you know, little person on YouTube, but you can spot them usually a mile off. They've got no subscribers, and you know, the type of things they say is really just trying to encourage other people to join them in their negativity. And you know, I just want to warn you that there are people down there in the comment section that do leave, you know, purposeful comments, hoping that they can attract more people to their way of thinking. And you know, in some circumstances, I do know who some of these people are, and you know, all I do is I just delete them. I know they're going to open up more accounts and come back, but you know, they're going to get fed up with it before I will. So let's get into the real nitty-gritty of what today's upload is about. Let's go over to Null School and have a look at the jet streams, and I think you're going to be shocked, guys. Okay, so just before we get into it, you might hear a bit of noise in the background, and that's because the scaffolding around the property is actually coming down today. So around 8 o'clock this evening, about 7 or 8 hours time, we'll be just doing a little check on the Trimag system, make sure it's all working as it should do, and we'll be putting the switch back on for that. So you know, we'll commence collecting data on the position of the current magnetic North Pole. We'll also be reinstating the magnetosphere sensor, and as you already know, we've already got magnetometers in the United States, Australia, Hong Kong, and there's a few more to go out, and obviously there's a couple more to be built so we can get them in Brazil and South Africa. We have also, hopefully this week, got all the parts. I know I had a couple of deliveries this morning of some components, just small things now, guys, and we'll have them muon detectors up and running, as well as you know, I'm going to at some point find a bit of time to get stuck into that cloud generator, because you know, we have got enough gear now to actually, you know, see if we're getting them results down to 40 degrees, minus 40. So let's get on with what really is important to you guys. As you can see, we're looking at the jet streams over the north and south hemispheres of the Earth, and what you are witnessing before your very eyes is absolutely, I think, short of subtropical and polar jet streams mix in, and as a result of that, when you get warm and cold air mix, you get all these other anomalies associated with such behaviour. And this is a direct result, if we just look over the northern hemisphere, a direct result of extra cosmic radiation that has been inbound into our atmosphere as a weakened magnetosphere. Around about 20% it has weakened to this date, and a grand solar minimum, which means simply there is a lack of sunspots or solar activity, and as a result of that, our heliosphere that protects the whole of our solar system has shrunk, and as a result of that, more cosmic radiation firstly has been inbound, and secondly we got a weakened magnetosphere due to a pole shift, and that has allowed more cosmic radiation to compile and be inbound in our atmosphere. As a result of that, we're getting more water droplets form in our atmosphere, and the jet streams are becoming clogged and laden down, and as a result of that, they start to yonder further south than what they normally would. And what we would normally have is a nice ring around the northern hemisphere, which would be your polar jet stream, and then a little bit further south, just above the equatorial region, we'd have that subtropical jet stream. And what we're seeing here is clearly an intertwining of the two, and it causes droughts in some places, it causes floods in other places, but more than anything else, it changes the seasons. Let me just answer this. Now we'll just have a quick look around the northern hemisphere first, to see the extent of the intertwining. But you can see that these jet streams run from the subtropical region straight up into the polar jet stream. They mix there, and there's nothing different in the southern hemisphere. We'll just have a little look over the northern hemisphere first, so you get an extent of what's going on. This is unnatural, it's unprecedented, guys, and it's nothing at all to do with CO2 and global warming. It isn't me and you that's caused this by starting our cars up and burning fossil fuels. What this is a result of is, a weakened magnetosphere to the tune of around 20%, and a grand solar minimum, the last 3 solar cycles declining, and our weakened heliosphere that protects our sorry, not our atmosphere. It protects our solar system first, and then our magnetosphere protects our atmosphere, and as a result, more cosmic radiation is inbound. And this is the very reason why we're building these muon detectors, because we're going to put these muon detectors in different locations all around the world, and we're going to get some feedback as to where are the regions on this planet which is suffering more from a weakened magnetosphere and allowing more cosmic radiation in. But just look at the southern hemisphere with regards to the intertwining of those subtropical and polar jet streams. It's almost indistinguishable. It is climate meltdown, guys, and it's taking place. And like I always say in these videos, we haven't seen the equilibrium yet. We've not reached a point at where things are starting to balance out, and then from that point we'll begin to get better. And they might not, guys, they might not. We're not sure, right? As a result of this pole shift taking another 500,000 years above average, whether it's going to reverse and we're going to have poles at the end of it. I'm not scaremongering people. I'm just telling you that NASA, right, have come out with this themselves. They know exactly what the extent of all this can lead to. There are very good documentaries. If you go onto Poleshift News and have a look under the Learning Centre, you'll see a video done by Nova that spells it out very clearly. A lot of people are unaware of how dangerous this anomaly can actually end up and lead to. This is not something that the world governments are going to be able to control. When people start to get hungry as a result of the dwindling global food productive areas on this, the arable land that grows the crops, once the seasons change, it will no longer be the game that we have been accustomed to enjoying. It will be a different game completely, guys. And the evidence is here in front of us. If you look at the jet streams over the northern hemisphere, over the southern hemisphere, you go and do your own research with regards to polar and subtropical jet streams. They're not supposed to be intertwining like this, and this is a new phenomena that has been going on for the last 20 years and gradually getting worse. Another anomaly, which you may have already noticed, is sundogs appearing at 60 degrees. This is an anomaly that's closely associated to Antarctic and Arctic areas. What it is an indication is that there is ice crystals in the clouds in the atmosphere, a lot lower than what they usually are. Our climate is shifting and gearing up for something very, very dramatic, and you can see it before your very eyes here taking place. And these big companies like the Metro, who are they here in the UK, that monitor all the weather, the Met Office, they're not saying nothing to anyone about it. They're not talking about the intertwining jet streams. They're not talking about land going off production, going offline. They're not talking about certain countries of major grains no longer exporting them. They're not talking about the loss of crops in the United States. They're not talking about any of these important issues. What they're going to do is leave it to the very last minute until the people realise how dangerous the situation is, and by that point in time it'll be game over for a lot of people. And it's hard to get through to some people. It's really hard to get through, and so that they understand exactly, what it is we're trying to show them here. This is not normal. The jet streams are not supposed to look like this, guys. And they do. And that's alarming. And this has nothing at all to do with the fraud that has been committed with regards to blaming all this on carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. It's nothing at all to do with that. If you go back before the Industrial Revolution, you'll see that there have been times in our history where the weather has gone colder and warmer, and this pattern has gone on through cycles back thousands and thousands of years. This is nothing to do with man creating a situation that changes the weather to this degree. And we know what the problem is. When you get a weakened magnetosphere, you get more cosmic radiation. When you get a grand solar minimum come along, you get more cosmic radiation, and that in turn puts more water vapor in our atmosphere, and that's what does that to this is what happens to our jet streams. When they get laden with water, they get sluggish, they drop a lot lower than 30 and 60 degrees over the northern and southern hemisphere, and you end up with weather patterns that we've got right now. And I'll tell you what, our growing cycles that we're used to right now are going to dramatically change. It's already starting to affect global production of food. We're heading towards a great catastrophe that mankind on this scale has never seen before, guys. And what we're trying to do here at the poleshift news channel is just cover as much as we can with relationship to this. We knew 7 years ago that this was going to lead to this, and we've been right all the way along. We've called out this from day one, and most of you guys have been following us from day one here on our channel on YouTube, and a lot of the things that we've predicted have already happened. So we've been luckily enough to be on the mark up until this time, and what we're trying to do is now just figure out the extent of inbound cosmic radiation globally, and we're making our best efforts for that. Guys, I'm just going to mention it here. There's a link down there. I'm only going to mention it once. I'm not going to do what I usually do. I'm just going to mention it just once. If you want to help support what we do here at this observatory, and that is collect data on the magnetic pole reversal that's taking place. It's a rare event, only happens you know, every so often, maybe on average every 350,000 years up until this last time, where it took, you know, another 780,000 years, so it's 500,000 years overdue. You know, we collect data on that, and we also collect data on you know, these magnetic intensities around the world, and soon to be collecting data on you know, the amount of muons that are inbound on the surface of our Earth at different locations around the world as well. And the reason why we're looking at muons, because they're a byproduct of cosmic radiation and collisions in the upper atmosphere, and it gives us an idea as to how much things are on the increase. And you know, we might even be able to predict and forecast, you know, some variables with regards to where is best to be on this planet during, you know, the coming times, where is less likely to be affected with crops, and you know, and of course how close we are to this magnetic reversal and when it takes place. Because if you've been following us for the last 30 years, sorry, if you've been following us for the last few years, you'll know that this anomaly has triggered these events over the last 30 years. So if you want to go back in the history of 30 years, you'll see all this has happened recently. You know, all these things have got out of hand recently, and it just so happens that, you know, the solar cycles entered a grand solar minimum around about that point in time, 30 years. It started declining 30 years ago, 33 years ago, thereabouts. And, you know, we've had some quick upticks. It's like, you know, the pole has migrated in gears. You know, we've gone up another gear, the car's gone a little bit faster, and the, you know, the pole has covered more distance in shorter periods of time over that 30 years as well. And, you know, we've brought all that data to you. So, you know, if you want to support us, you know, you can support us on PayPal, or you can become a patron of ours. You know, it's entirely up to you. And of course, it is not mandatory, guys. You know, it'd just be nice if we could get some support. You know, I had to pull a video the weekend because of this small amount of people causing disruption in the comments, you know, and just trying to divert, you know, any support for what we do. And, you know, I'm not paranoid. You know, I do know that there is an attempt by some of these big establishments to keep you in the knowledge that what is causing all this is CO2, and we are being targeted. Just look at some of the adverts they put down under my video. You know, I'm talking about, you know, CO2 not being responsible for global warming directly. No, you'll have a banner from Wikipedia explaining what they want you to believe with regards to global warming and CO2 or climate change, or there's always something related to that down there. So there's an effort, guys, to whatever we try and say on channels like this, to, you know, disrupt it, counteract it with their propaganda, and, you know, they do win a majority of the time. You know, there are a lot of people on this planet still believing that CO2 is the cause of climate change, when clearly I've even had, guys, on my channel, on my website, my personal website, which I own, I've had them remove CO2 data, which I've put up there, because I've showed people that CO2 is clearly still rising, and yet global temperatures are decaying and dropping. And they don't like that sort of truth coming out, because what they tried to push before was global warming. Now they're doing a little bit of a U-turn. They're saying it's climate change, because climate change can be, you know, in both directions. So, you know, I'm just saying, guys, you know, there's a big effort out there to restrain people like us, and they're going to go after people like me more than anyone else, because we don't just talk about it, we actually have a proactive approach to it. We've built the equipment, and in some cases it's the same equipment that these organisations use. They don't like that either. They don't like us using the technology to explain to people what really is taking place on our planet. And you know what? They are doing a great mind job on some people. There have been some teenagers that have taken their own lives because they believe that CO2 has led to the climate changing so dramatically that there isn't a future for them. Can you believe that? That's what they've put in some kids' heads, and that's the levels and extremes at which they will go to, where if you're going to misinform people, tell them that they haven't got a future, and, you know, that the outlook at the future is bleak and there's nothing there for them, then obviously, you know, you are going to get some weaker children believing in all this. and to the point, sadly, where some of them have even taken their lives. Can you believe that? I mean, we've only got to look at little Greta, that's now coming from Sweden, is it? Going all around the world talking about, guess what? CO2. What have they done to, to Greta? And more importantly, how much influence is she having on the rest of the world's children? And again, talking about CO2 being the cause of climate change. This is absolutely crazy. Anyhow, guys, I'm going to leave it there. You can see what is happening before your own eyes, and it's down to you if you want to believe in carbon dioxide causing this or something more than that. It's no coincidence that when we get, lulls in the behaviour of our sun's output, that we have lower temperatures. And it should be completely understandable that the sun is the climate driver, and if you have a weakened magnetosphere and you have a weakened sun, then you're going to end up with more cosmic radiation in your atmosphere, and it's not a good thing because it creates jet streams such as what we're seeing right now. Guys, I'm going to leave it here. There's a link down there if you want to support us, what we do at the Observatory. And if you do want to support us, it'll be, fantastic. We can keep doing what we're doing. So I'm going to say what I usually do. You have an amazing week. I'll be back, and I'll be switching on the magnetometers and, giving you some regular updates as to what's going on with the magnetic poles on our planet and other things. So, guys, have a great week. The link's down there, as always. Bye for now.